A boy who tried to bury his shadow. In a distant land not too far from here, where twilight lingered longer than it should, there lived a boy named Oren who was terrified of his own shadow. Not the kind cast by the sun or the moon, that was harmless. He feared the other one, the true one, the one that whispered in his ribs and followed him into every decision he wished he didn't have to make. This shadow wasn't darkness, it was truth. The part of himself he worked hardest to be. It carried every choice he ran from, every desire he denied, every grief he refused to name. Most people eventually make peace with their shadow, if not in daylight, then in their dreams. But Oren grew convinced that if he could bury his shadow deep enough, he could bury the parts of himself he didn't really want to admit were real. This pilgrimage of avoidance Oren set off on, with his shovel slung across his back and hope slung across thin his heart. He walked to the desert of distraction, thinking the sun would erase his shadow. But even at high noon, where dunes shifted like restless thoughts, it grew sharper, darker, even more defined. He fled to the forest of forgetting, where mist blurred memories and moss muffed regret. But the shadow clung to him like a debt unpaid, like a truth unspoken, like a name whispered only in the dark. Finally, he arrived at the Valley of Vanishing, a place said to swallow anything a person wished to lose. He raised his shovel, dug. He carved a grave wide enough for his fears and deep enough for his denial. And then he stepped back and commanded, "Stay buried." He covered the hole and felt a rush of relief that tasted temporary and dangerous. He left the valley feeling lighter but not freer, because freedom comes from facing what follows you, not hiding what haunts you. This consequence came weeks later, when something strange happened. Oren began to flicker, the way a candle flame does before it dies out. His laugh thinned, his courage crumbled, his choices felt borrowed from a person he was pretending to be. People passed him as if he were not fully there, and the emptier he felt, the more he realized what he had buried was not a burden, it was a foundation. A voice inside him whispered, faint but fierce, "A life without a shadow is a life without depth." Oren panicked and ran back to the Valley of Vanishing as quickly as a fractured soul could run. In this unearthing, as he reached the grave and dug with bare hands, bleeding, breathless and desperate, the hole was empty. The shadow stood behind him, taller than before, not malicious, but magnificent, bearing the shape of every truth he had tried to kill. In a voice that was unmistakably his. "Do you understand now?" Oren fell to his knees. "I tried to bury you because I thought you were the worst part of me." Shadow knelt beside him. "I am the honest part of you, and honesty is heavy until you learn to carry it." Oren wept, and in the weeping became whole again. He reached out and touched his shadow, and for the first time it did not feel like a threat, but a companion. He realized he cannot bury the parts of himself that he does not want to see. We can only bury our ability to become what we were meant to be. And if the shadow does not ask for obedience, only acknowledgement, it demands it. It does not demand perfection, only presence. And until you face it, you live half a life. You live in the light, fooled by the shadow, haunted by half-truths in a half-lit world. Wholeness begins where the hiding ends.